because I knew that like I had to cut this line and go in this other direction where it's like I need to close my mind. Good morning, Sales Ascender! I hope you're doing really good. Sean here with another high ticket tune-up. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. Don't forget, please smash that like button and share this to somebody that may really benefit from gaining this. So today's question comes from Jackie. Jackie asks this, such a great one. She says, Sean, you talk about persistence as one of the keys to winning in sales. Yes, I do. Remember, there's three of them. It's consistence, persistence, and conviction, right? So like, what's the term that Chris always calls it? Conviction selling. So it's conviction, persistence, and consistency. Sorry, I had a brain fart there for a second. But so persistence is definitely one of them. I talk a lot about it in the ways that I do this, and it's one of the keys to winning in sales. So how do you develop good persistence? And it's such a wonderful question, Jackie. Thank you so much for asking that. Because the answer comes back to one of the very first times I ever read Think and Grow Rich. If you've never read that book, I highly encourage it. I've read it the last 12 years. Every December, I take the month of December and I take some time to actually read the book. And I read it all the time. And this question came up this past week and I was like, oh my God, like this is in the book. Like I'll just use some of the concepts from here. So I'm going to give you a 4-step plan. Okay, so it's a 4-step framework to unstoppable persistence. Here comes. Are you ready? And I'm going to tell you a story of how it works for me. So check this out. Here are the steps. Let me just move the question away. Okay, so if you are looking to gain persistence and you're like, Sean, I don't know how to get persistence. And that's okay if you do, because I didn't know either way back in the day. And so what I did is I read this book and I was like, whoa, this is interesting. And here's the steps. So define a purpose or have a definite purpose backed by a burning desire to win. Then you create a plan and you start continuous action and you keep your mind tightly closed against all negativity and discouragement. And you've like the one thing that changed everything for me was the step 4 is developing a friendly alliance to hold me accountable. So let me tell you a quick story about how this works. So like Melissa and I, when we got married, I remember I was working selling roofing material and she was actually working in a dentist's office. And I always remember like she would in the morning, it got really bad, right? So like her job got pretty rough on her. And I remember sometimes in the morning she'd wake up, she'd be all excited that we were there together. And then she would get really, really like sad or just solemn. And a lot of mornings, and we'd come downstairs and we would drink our coffee together, and then she would go off to work her way and I would go off my way. And like we had just recently got married and it was like, oh my gosh, we have to figure this out. Like we have to solve this problem because this sucks. So I started in my mind growing this definite purpose of, man, like my purpose of marrying this one woman that I love so dearly is to spend all my time with her. So like, how do we figure out a lifestyle? Because the current lifestyle we had wasn't serving us. And so we said, well, how can we experience everything together, which became one of our taglines. And I'm so grateful for it. And so we're like, man, what are we going to try? And I started trying all these things. And I got into multi-level marketing offline. This is before online. And I tried multi-level marketing and I just kept failing and failing and failing. But I never stopped, right? Because I had this burning desire and I didn't know what plan I was going to use. And I just knew there's one thing. I just knew that I wanted to spend time with Melissa and I didn't want to have to go to a job where I worked for another human being. It's just not my style, right? So I said, okay, what is a definite purpose? Obviously that was the definite purpose. Like, how do we experience everything together? The burning desire was because, look, I was pissed off with this 9-to-5 life and I wanted to get out of this whole environment where I couldn't spend every single day with her. We couldn't travel the world. Like that was some of our goal, right? And so this is when we first started coming online. It's about 5 years ago. So I had this burning desire to change the outset, and the purpose was so we could spend every time, all the days together. And so then it just so happened that I ended up seeing this guy, actually Melissa. I was away. I was on a road trip, and Melissa calls me freaking out. She's like, "Oh my God, I just saw this like Facebook thing. You need to check this out." And I'm like, "What is this?" And so I get back and we watch, and there's this little 19-year-old kid just strutting along the beach with no shirt on, and he's like, "Yeah, I just made all this money online." And we're like, "Okay, that's interesting." The internet game is something that we hadn't explored. This again 5 years ago, and we're like, "Man, what if we could make the internet work? Let's go down this rabbit hole and check it out. And so we started going down this rabbit hole. We ended up like, yes, let's invest. We felt, that it was a good thing to invest. And, you're always getting ridiculed, like the MLM stuff, like all the friends and family just started just saying, don't do it. Get out of there. You're not doing good. Like, that's a scam, blah, 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 pyramid. Don't do it. And we were like, you know what? We just got to keep our minds tight. Like, what we're trying to create for ourselves is this lifestyle. So we get involved with this online program. And I was like, this is interesting. And I saw a bunch of people having the success that we were kind of wanting to have. And so we're like, well, they've got a plan. So I think maybe what I should do is go and look and see what their plan looks like. And if it's something that I like, maybe we'll use it. And so we started talking to a lot of people, and I figured out that there was more than a handful of people that had gotten the results that we were trying to get. So I talked to a lot of them, and I said, what was the plan? What was the plan? And then it was like, boom, I had the plan. And I was like, oh man, so now all I have to do is, I know I've got the definite purpose, which is we wanted to experience everything together. The burning desire was I was sick and tired of not having to, didn't want to work at a 9-to-5 any longer. The definite plan was now we'd found this online mechanism with marketing, because we never knew what marketing was before that. It was just sales, sales, sales for the past like 15 years prior to that. And so now we had this definite plan on how to win online, where there's a bunch of other people that had done that. And so we started taking action. And we started taking massive amounts of action, and we spent a lot of time doing it. And the whole time we're still working kind of both of our jobs. And I remember so vividly, my dad called me and he's like, what are you doing with this online garbage? Like, stop, just get out of there. And I thought to myself, man, like, that's tough. And I knew that his mindset, because not his fault, but just where he'd come from and the records that he has had in his head from when he was a little kid, like he never even realized the internet was actually this amazing vehicle to where you can crush it and make, millions of dollars. And so he was coming at me from this like negativity and discouragement. And that's when I realized, like, that was one of the hardest pivotal moments. I remember this call. I was driving, I had my car, just my phone started playing on my thing, Bluetooth. And he says to me, we're having this conversation. I'm like, man, and I just looked at the steering wheel and I looked back up the road, and I kind of got sad and just disheartened, because I knew that like I had to cut this line and go in this other direction where it's like I need to close my mind. And what's interesting is, like, every single person on earth has the ability to close their mind. Every person, that's normally sane, insanity, whatever, has this ability to lock up the mechanism between the ears so that no influence negatively can go inside. And that's our choice. And so at that moment when I was driving down, I remember my windshield had just got cracked because there's this big truck that was driving and flicked a rock up and it cracked my window. And I was pissed. And I was like, dang it. And I was talking to my dad, and I was like, negative again. And I was like, oh man. And then I was like, the third negative. Everything comes in threes typically in my world, right? So it's like the window got cracked. My dad dropped this on me. And then I just felt the sadness overwhelmingly. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. Like, I'm closing my mind. I'm only going to have a positive outlook moving forward. Yes, things are going to be hard. People are going to continue to tell me no and nay and all this other stuff. But I said, you know what? I'm closing my mind completely tightly against everything. And I'm going to win online at no matter what cost. And it goes back to this definite purpose of how did we want to be together all the time, Melissa and I. And so I had the burning desire. It was already there. It was in my belly, just cooking. And so that day I made the choice to listen to what my dad says, because he's one of the biggest influences in my life. But I also decided that I had this filter between where the input where my dad's stuff would come through and then getting into my ears and sticking in my brain, because I didn't want to develop the negative record that I thought or think is negative from what he learned in his past. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So at that day, I closed my mind really tightly against this, and I continue to move forward and forward. But after about the first 45 days of running this play, we still really hadn't seen any success. And that was the second thing that changed everything. Is I went to the step 4 here, developing a friend reliance. We called our upline back at the time. His name was Brandon. And I said, Brandon, like, what's going on here? And he said, he literally said, keep doing what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but there's something that's working, because I'm looking at your metrics. And because you don't know what those are yet, like, understand you're doing something great here. Just keep pushing the way you're pushing, because it's going to pop through. And I was like, man, I had that negativity, that doubt, that imposter syndrome that kind of crept up in me. And I was like, oh, is this really going to happen? Or not? Are we just spending, like, because we were spending some coin at this time, and we're like, oh my gosh, like starting to leverage some credit cards and doing some other things. And then boom, it happened, and we made our first deal, and then our second deal, and then by the end of our third month, we had cleared our first $10,000 in the online space. Literally, it happened just like that, and it was only because I was able to put that fourth piece, the developing a friendly alliance. I called a coach and I said, hey, like, I feel like this isn't working. And I was the voice that raised my hand to him. And I said, listen, man, like, I'm struggling with this mentally, emotionally, like coach me through this. What do I have to do? And I feel like that was a bigger breakthrough for me personally, because I had never done really that move specifically before. And so at that stage in my life, I was like, okay, cool. So as I was reading the Think and Grow Rich, and I got this question again. Jackie asked this question. She says, Sean, how do you develop persistence as one of the keys to winning in sales? How do you develop good persistence? And the answer is literally in this game plan right here. And I didn't know it until I actually followed the framework for myself just by accident, which is the story that I first told you. And literally, it got us to a place where I had the definite purpose. So here's what it was for me. And if you're looking to develop some persistence in your world, like, this is where the transformations came. I put them in color, so it's really easy for you to understand this. The definite purpose was I wanted to spend every day together with my wife. The burning desire was I was so sick and tired of the 9-to-5 going in this direction that I wanted some different channel. I didn't know what it was, but I had the desire to figure it out. The definite plan didn't come until the internet was introduced to us through a Facebook ad, which is great. And then we started taking action, and then we realized that we had to take continuous action, or we just kind of did that because we were workhorses anyways. And then I had that conversation with my dad, which showed me that I had to close my mind really tightly. And then I developed this reliance by calling my coach, and I was like, yo, I'm feeling not good about this. How do I get through it? And literally, I followed this process before I even knew it was the process. Maybe I had known it before because I'd read Think and Grow Rich. Like I said, I've read it now 12 times. This is my 13th this year. And I'm really excited about it because this question came up right when I was reading that part. And I thought maybe I could just share some simple tips with you on how to create unstoppable persistence in your life. And believe me, it all starts with that definite plan, the definite purpose backed by a burning desire. So thinking about setting a goal. What is your goal for your business? What's your goal for Q1? What's your goal for Q2, Q3? What's your goal for the next year? If you don't have one of those yet, I've got a treat for you because you're in our inner circle. We're actually doing a 3-day sales planning intensive. Now, this is something that's really specific. This is going to be literally on the January 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's for an hour a day, and literally we're going to show everybody that's in our inner circle community, our family, our tribe, they get access for free. So if you're not in our inner circle, you want to go do that. If you're check a link below. If you don't have one, there'll be one to get an invite into our inner circle. If you want to be part of this, again, it's coming up in January. Very exclusive. There's only 100 spots. We already have almost 1,000 members in our Facebook group. And so those are the people that are getting the exclusive invite here. And it's for the 6th, 7th, and 8th of January. It's a 1-hour a day thing. It's free. And it's going to be for those people that need to develop a plan, right? So if you know you want to grow your online business in 2021 and you don't know the specific sales numbers or how much activity it's going to take or what's the income that you personally want to create for yourself next year, what's the business revenue that you want to create, and how do we put those pieces together that you have an actionable plan? It's a free 3-day event, and it's just an hour a day in the mornings. And you will come away at the end of those 3 days with literally your fast action plan to smash in 2021 in the sales department, right? Because every business revolves around prospecting and sales. That's why we have this group. And that's why we've built this tribe and this community. It's a passion of ours, as we understand, because when you start to create momentum in a business and you create sales for yourself, and then you start to make impact with people, that's the secret. That's why our group is connected. That's why we're here, because we want to lock arms and we want to go in the same direction. And because I know that your specialty is different than mine, but I know that I probably need your specialty and you probably need mine, which is awesome, right? So, and that's why we band together and do this thing and move forward. And so that's where the accountability comes from. So we're actually built in a lot of these pieces right into our community, which is awesome. And again, the sales planning intensive, 3 days, early January, come away with a game plan so you can crush it. Again, if you aren't inside of our inner circle, look in the link below. There'll be a link there to get there, and then we'll get you set up and running. So anyways, with that said, guys, if you don't have persistence, I just gave you the 4-step framework to get there. If you need a plan for next year, make sure to get an invite to our inner circle. If you're already in our inner circle, hit me up in a private message asking for the link. We should be sending everybody the link to join our sales planning intensive here very shortly. So with that said, I love you. Go develop yourself some persistence this week, this month. It's very simple to do. You just got to make a decision, follow the framework, rewind this video, and I will look forward to speaking to you tomorrow.